Hello, loved ones. How are you doing? This is Love Marlene 411, your channel for trauma healing, self love, and healthy relationships. Welcome to today's podcast conversation, and a very important one, I would say. Um, I don't know about you all, but for myself, for many, many years, I had so much anger. And we have anger for so many reasons because of lack of support or ABUSE, disrespect, not being given what we needed. There's so many reasons why we feel the way we feel. Hi, Miss Betty. How are you doing? Happy Monday. There's so many reasons why we can have anger inside of us from the way we were parented or how our siblings treated us. Like I said, ABUSC. So many things can cause us to have anger. Not getting what we wanted, not being treated, not being loved, shown affection, being supported, being not supported, I mean, being disrespected when people don't show up for you, just not being treated the way that you deserve. It can cause us to have so much anger inside of us. I know for me, I held on to anger for so many years for things that happened in my childhood, things that my parents did, things that my siblings did, things that my ex did. It's a lot of reasons why we can hold that anger. But you know what? Holding on to that anger does not cause us to win. Actually, it causes us to lose sleep, you know, get a lot of headaches, be very stressed out, not having good mental health. It does a lot of negative and bad things to us. So, holding on to that anger makes us stay stuck in a prison that we can free ourselves from. But every single one of us has to want to be in that space to let go of anger. You have to want to be free of anger. You have to be to free yourself and to heal and to let things go. But I know what that feels like, being angry, waking up every day angry. You're angry at the whole world and you are a ticking time bomb. Hi, Fashion by Natalie. Good afternoon. How are you doing? I know for sure I was definitely a ticking time bomb because the way that I grew up is that you don't talk about how you feel and what other people do to you. It was one of those things that you hold your anger inside. You don't share personal business that happens in your family. You hold on to those secrets. You keep your mouth closed. You think that, that's what you're supposed to do. And it's a recipe for disaster and unhappiness. And it can make you take it out on the people that in real time that have done nothing to you. You can't love them fully. You can't support them. You can't be your best self. You lose sleep. You'll be gaining weight, stressed out, having health problems, all because we have not allowed ourselves to resolve whatever the issue is. And it does not matter our age. You could be 70, 80 years old and still angry about what happened to you in your childhood or whatever traumatic thing or abusive thing that happened to you. But I just wanted to let you all know that we don't have to continue to be disrespected. You don't have to keep letting people run over you. But one thing is for sure is that we don't deserve to be angry. You don't deserve to be angry any longer, but you have to do something about it. Asking yourself, why am I angry? What angered me? Was it something that I could control or was it something that I couldn't? Separating those things, it helps us to realize there are some things that we have zero control over. And then there are other things that we do have control over. What do we have control over? Our attitude. We have control of our peace. We have control of our happiness and our joy. Those are the things that we can control. But what we can't control is what other people did, how other people treat us, and how people that are mentally unstable, dysfunctional, and angry, immature. And it causes us to have anger because people love to project their fears and their insecurities onto us. People love that. That is one of their favorite things to do, to make you unhappy. They want to unpack all of their drama, all of their negativity, and leave it on us. But we can't let angry, manipulative, dark, twisted, unhappy, immature people cause us to be angry for our whole life. Now, I know what I'm about to say, that there's going to be some who are going to raise your eyebrows, but it's time for us to get out of the season of holding things inside and communicating and finding a healthy way to release it. Everybody's going to be different. For me, it's going for walks and going to the gym and journaling. But for you, it may be boxing or some sport, your favorite activity, maybe crafts, gardening, fishing. The list goes on and on, but you have to find something that gives you peace. You have to find something that is outside of the problems that has happened to you and start showing up for yourself. For so many years, I always was taught that I have to give to people. I have to help people, even those people in our lives that brought pain in our lives, brought in toxicity, keep using us and running over us and disrespecting us. And you're supposed to just keep turning the other cheek. You're supposed to just keep on taking it. And no, we don't have to keep taking it. We don't have to keep allowing it. And here's another thing. We don't have to be angry. And I don't want you all to be angry. And I'm finally in a season of my life where I have peace. I have joy. And it didn't happen overnight. It took me many years for me to unlearn the toxicity, that I don't have to hold everything inside. It took me time for me to open up and communicate, share how I'm feeling with the right people, and the ones that I can't talk to and communicate because they don't want to communicate because of immaturity or control, whatever the case may be. Those are the people that I cut off so that I can stop being angry. And anger is a very real thing in today's society. There are so many things that we are justifiably angry about. People who are very rude and disrespectful, judgmental, abusive, and so many other things in this life that they just don't treat other people right. But it's not for us to stay in that space because they choose to be angry, because they choose to not heal. We have to make a choice to choose ourselves. Hey, Shannon, how are you doing? That was me. I had to make a choice to choose myself. I had to make a choice to be happy and to release those things and give myself the permission to let it go. Because that's how it was for me. I didn't want to let it go. I wanted the power. It's like holding on to that resentment and that anger and always saying, they did this to me, they did this to me. And while it's not right when people do wrong to you, when people disrespect you, when people abuse you from your past or even right now in your current situation, in any form, abuse is not right. And we do not have to take it, and we don't have to stick around and talk about loyalty and all kinds of things. No, toxicity is toxicity. And we are the ones that have to make better choices for ourselves. You have to show up for you. You have to know what you want, and you also have to respect yourself first. That was something that took me a very long time for me to learn, that I don't have to stick around. I don't have to listen to negativity. I don't have to try to make other people happy. I had to work on making myself happy, making myself healed, giving myself the permission to let things go. And that was very, it's like you have to move along little by little. You learn things about yourself. You learn to trust yourself. You learn that you deserve to heal and to be happy, and to not put everybody in the category just because a man or a woman hurt you or because your parents hurt you. We're not going to stay in that space of the trust issues. Hey, realist, how are you doing? So that was how it was for me. But every person is different. It took me a long time for me to finally open up, because I said I was tired. And for many of us, we have to get sick and tired of being tired, being angry, being upset, being dysfunctional. But the thing with me, I wanted to be better, but I didn't know how to be better, because everything that was in my environment, that was around me from my childhood to my early adulthood, was toxic. And it wasn't because the people in my life were trying to hurt me, but because they were hurt by somebody from their generation, then because they didn't put in the work into themselves, then they scarred me as well. So it's generations of brokenness, generations of pain, and nobody does the inner work to do better. So I promised myself that I was not going to scar the next generation. I was not going to scar, children and nieces and nephews and siblings. I didn't want to have the brokenness that I saw my parents have, not talking to your siblings for years. Not communicating what I wanted and what I needed, setting boundaries and enforcing them. And in many communities, so many people are very unhappy with the people that is around them, and they complain about it, but nobody puts in the work into themselves to improve it. Okay? If the people in your life aren't going to improve and change, that means that it's time for you to pivot. If you want to elevate, if you want peace, if you want healing to take place in your life, you are the one that has to make changes. And that is what I had to do for myself. I was tired of being the angry woman. I was tired of being the one that I couldn't sleep because of always thinking about, why did they do this to me? Why did they hurt me like this? Why did this and this happen to me? And you keep playing it over and over in your mind like a scratch record. It's the new day, but it's the same old mess, the same old trauma, the same old everything. And nothing can change and pivot in our life unless we change, unless you heal, unless you change your mindset and your focus. So like I said, I want to change. And I don't know about you all, but I am in a space in my life where finally, after all the years of my life, so many things has happened. If you guys support me on my other social medias, you guys know some things that I have been through in my life. And I know that my loved ones here, I know that you all have been through very heavy things, dark things, ABUSC, disrespect, abandonment, feelings of worthlessness, depression. It's heavy things that happen, that when you needed people to help to lift some of that pain, you didn't get it. Or when you needed affection and you didn't get it. Actually, you got pushed away, made fun of. So that does bring about anger inside of us because of years of manipulation, years of abandonment, years of disrespect, years of believing that we have to continue to take toxicity, and we don't. And we don't. Um, but it all starts with you. It all starts with me. And I said I had to be the waymaker. I had to be the trendsetter. I had to be the role model. So if you don't have people around you that are willing to make changes, willing to heal, willing to get therapy, willing to pour into yourself and be a better version of yourself, because I always had said to myself when I started my healing journey, I didn't want to be that angry woman sitting in her rocking chair, being miserable like everybody who came around, chewing them up. And they have done nothing to me. I didn't want to be that woman. And I know many of my loved ones here, you don't want to be that angry person, but you don't know how to separate. You don't know how to shift, how to pivot, because when you do something, it becomes a habit and you're used to those having that behavior and that way of thinking that, I don't want to talk about it, because anything that is painful, nobody really wants to talk about it, but you talk about it in safe spaces. That's why there's support groups and therapy and social media sites, just like this one that I have here. I have dedicated this channel to trauma healing and healing your relationships, having healthy relationships, not just having relationships. And that's how it was for me growing up. I had many relationships. I knew a lot of people, but it was toxicity tied into the majority of them. So there's many people that I know that I no longer deal with because of what they do, because of who they are, because they are unwilling to change. There are many people in our lives that don't want to be happy, even though they are always complaining about their unhappiness. They're not doing anything to shift that. They're not making better choices. They're not cutting off toxic relationships. They're not making better decisions. They're not doing anything to heal themselves. They're not taking care of themselves. They don't show up for themselves and fill up their cup. But that is a learned behavior. Those are the things that you do as a grown woman or a grown man. And for myself, I was tired of being angry. I don't know about you all. Is there anybody out there that is just tired of being angry, tired of holding it in, tired of, seeing it in your mind as a scratch record, whatever happened, the ABUSC, whether it be a DV or sexual or verbal abandonment. It can be so many things that can cause us to relive those thoughts, and they flood our mind and it puts us in a dark space. But I have learned when some of those things that I rehash it in my mind and think about, when it happened. One thing that we can do to help us to not be angry is to stop blaming ourselves. Even if it was a romantic relationship that you chose that person, you chose to be in that relationship. Yes, we assume personal accountability, but also at the same time, we're not responsible for a person who is immature, possessive, manipulative, can't keep their hands to themselves. That's not our problem to hold. So we do have to stop blaming ourselves for what someone did to you in a romantic relationship, what your parents or siblings or friends allegedly did to bring things to you that hurt you. It's very important that we come to the table now and have these mature conversations. I will not blame myself for what my ex did, my parents, my siblings, my friends, or even what I did when I didn't know myself, when I didn't love myself, when I was not at a space of peace, when I didn't know how to make decisions or communicate, when I didn't know how to walk away because I was not strong enough. We're not going to blame ourselves for that anymore. And we're going to free ourselves. And it really does help when you say that out loud. I give myself the permission to let go of what I can't control. That has been so healing to my spirit, to my soul, to know that, yeah, this and this and this in my life, and you guys can fill in the blank for what your heavy weight is. That's not my problem. That's not what I deserve. And I give myself the permission to forgive it. Not that it was right, not what somebody did to you was right, but we're not going to keep holding on to that and blaming ourselves for it and stopping the joy to come in our life. Okay? So if there's anybody that I can reach with today's podcast conversation, I hope it's that you seek help, whether it's getting a virtual visit, an in-person visit, talking to a psychiatrist, and it does not make us strange or weird. It makes us human. Sure, Shannon says, I agree. Sure, Shannon also says, I work with a lot of broken people. They complain all the time. They won't do anything to make it better. Yes, Shannon. And I can say, because I'm an accountable woman, that I was one of those that always complained about myself and my situation and what I went through, always complaining, but I wasn't doing anything to pivot it because I was embarrassed. I didn't want to claim that this and this and this happened to me. It did. When you deny it, it doesn't make things easier to carry. It actually makes the weight heavier. Why carry around these heavy weights on our back, in our head, and on our heart when we can find ways to free ourselves, find our way to peace, find our way to joy, and learn how to deal with whatever from the past so that we can live in the present. Hey, Nate, how are you doing? So that is one thing, having this grown woman or grown man conversation, I had to give myself that permission to say, it's not your fault, Marlene. And insert your name in that. It's not your fault. And fill in the blanks when this happened, when this happened, when this happened. That was not your fault. And then when this happened, maybe it was your fault because you chose to be in that relationship, but a person's behavior, their actions, that's not yours. So we have to section it off, put it in different compartments in our brain, in our mind, and then give ourselves the permission to be free of that. I will not blame myself anymore. And I do have to write it down because from time to time that bubbles up to the surface, even though I have forgiven it and I have forgiven people in my life, not because of I'm rationalizing and saying it was okay what they did, but I free them from it so that I can free myself, so I can step into my day having a clear mind, having positive thoughts. Because when you harbor that resentment, it shifts to anger, it shifts to you not sleeping, and it affects your health. So because I want peace to happen for every single one of you, I want you to have peace. I don't want any of you to be so angry that you do the same thing that happened to you, because I know many that because they had a very ABUSIVE childhood, always getting slapped, always getting assaulted by parents or assaulted from your previous relationship, you feel that that's love. So there's a lot of healing that needs to take place for many people. And maybe for you, it's none of these things. Maybe it's a different thing. Maybe your thing was, it was abandonment, and that makes you angry, and that makes you look differently as at a man or a woman, and you got some issues. You hate women or you hate men because of what a woman or a man or many women or many men did to you, right? But we have to take things on a case by case basis. It's not every woman and it's not every man. It's just a lot of people who are mentally ill, controlling, manipulative, and we have to, yes, be upset, be angry with those individuals, but don't vibrate in that space for the rest of your life. You got to elevate and you got to empower and you got to allow yourself to get up. And that's why having conversations like this, every time I talk about, not being angry, I feel more free. My spirit feels more calm. I release negative energy. So it's not just to help me. I know that I'm helping others that maybe they're not at the position where they feel comfortable to talk about things, but I want my loved one, I want all of you to not be angry anymore. And we're going to work on ourselves. We're not going to wait all the way until January. It's almost October. We're going to be working on ourselves, and we're going to keep having conversations like this every single Monday on, I call them these lunchtime chats. And we're going to go into some heavy topics. And this one about not being angry anymore and giving ourselves the permission to be at peace and to be free. That's something that you have to want as an adult. Yes, Nate, growth and elevation. You have to want to grow through it. You have to want to elevate. And we have to go back and talk to our inner child, talk to that little boy or little girl inside of you and reassure them, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to protect you. I'm sorry that this person did X, Y, and Z to you, but it's a new day. And I forgive them and I give them to whatever it is that you believe in. For me, I give my pain, my heavy weights, and my burdens to God. And after I do that, then I have to continue on. I said, I give it to God, and then I have to forgive myself. Why is this essential? Because, yes, while you give it to God, you also have to remember you're human, you're flesh and blood. And we get upset and we give it away and then we want to take it back. So I have to remind myself anytime that bubbles up to the surface, I have forgiven that. I have given it to God and I am at peace. And I'm going to move on with my life and I'm going to make myself happy. And this is when I speak affirmations over my life. I am healed. I am happy. I am positive. I am wonderful. I am great. I confront my challenges. I speak up for myself. See, that is the empowerment that therapy gave to me. It's not just talking about things. Therapy taught me how to communicate better. It taught me to be an advocate for other people. It taught me to look for warning signs and red flags and to watch out for energy. It taught me so many things that I can't even explain. And I'm so grateful for that I took the time to work on me for years. So now I can say, I'm not angry anymore. I'm better. See, before I was bitter and now I'm better. I used to be very upset, very like I was mad at the whole world and I showed it by my bad attitude. I showed it by, being very disrespectful. And that's not the way. A lot of people, they how they handle it is they have a very tough persona, show off rough and gruff, but on the inside they're crumbling. On the inside they're miserable. They're one step away from having a breakdown. And that's what I don't want to see for you guys. I don't want to see you having a breakdown. And I didn't have anybody to take me by the hand and say, Marlene, you need to get some help. I went through a space where I had a breakdown, literally had a mental breakdown. And I said, I can't keep doing this anymore. I can't keep letting my past define my present. I didn't say in those terms at that time, but I learned through therapy that's what I was doing. I was pushing everything down and ignoring it and pushing it to the back of the closet, and I don't want to talk about it. Oh, and I'm over that, but I knew I wasn't over that. So part of my healing and not being angry was allowing myself to be human enough to say, this is what I'm feeling in this moment, and letting myself feel that. I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm whatever. And giving myself the room that if I want to cry, if I want to be sad. But before, when I used to get into the depression, when I would let myself feel it, it would be like a dark cloud over my head. When I would open up that Pandora's box, then I couldn't stop the tears. I couldn't stop the anger. But therapy taught me to have a time limit. I give myself 30 minutes to an hour to feel what I feel. Write it down, throw some things, go for a jog, but get it out. Scream at the top of your lungs. But we are not going to do things that's going to bring harm to ourselves, harm to our mind, harm to our body, harm to our spirit, harm to our soul, because you block off so many things when you don't let yourself feel. We're not robots. We're not meant to just ignore things. We feel things. We get hurt. People piss us off. People press your buttons. People are very disrespectful and rude. And of course, we should be angry. But the problem is we have to stop staying angry. And now here is the work for you all. What are you going to do to shift that? If you're angry about something, what work are you going to do on the inside of you so that you can be better? Okay? Nate says, every healing process is different, sometimes difficult, but necessary for growth. Yes. So great conversation, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the lunchtime chat. I'm about to head over to my other channel and have another conversation, but this one was very important. If you have something that you're angry about, something negative situation, negative person, something that really hurts you, something that was ABUSIVE, it's time for us to face it. Stop running from it so that you can be your best, so that you can have peace as your portion, so that you can heal and have healthy relationships and not just settling, not just allowing people to treat you any type of way, and not taking it out in yourself by eating your pain. But you can be happy and you can have a free mind and spirit. I wish you happy healing, everybody. This is Love Marlene 411, your channel for trauma healing and healthy relationships. Because when you have a healthy relationship with yourself and you've put in the work, that inner work healing, you can have healthy, loving relationships with other people. As I will see you guys back on Thursday for the Sip and Chat with my co-host, Miss Nexie. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.